The joy of roasting marshmallows with the kids or jumping into the lake on a hot summer day, you just can't beat it. But not all Canadians are so lucky, and we want to change that. That's why
Here's a roundup of the party leaders on day 16 of this election campaign. Liberal Leader Justin Trudeau, as you heard there, promised more environmental protection and said his government would make sure all kids learn how to camp. He made that announcement in Sudbury, Ontario. Trudeau then traveled to Parry Sound and Barrie before finishing with a campaign rally in Peterborough. The CBC's Salima Shivji is covering the Liberals' campaign this week. Salima?
Vashi, the climate trek continues for Justin Trudeau. This time he's weaving his way through Ontario, down the highway, making stops along the way. Sudbury, Barrie, Peterborough, here in Parry Sound where we are right now, all to put the highlight and the focus on the climate debate and his climate plan. An interesting choice on those ridings, though. Two of those ridings went Tory blue the last time around, two went Liberal, but they could be targets in that all-important Conservative Liberal fight for Ontario. And that is why we're hearing at every climate announcement this week, even those in BC, whether it's emissions, green homes, or targets for protection and conservation, we're hearing Justin Trudeau keep mentioning Ontario Premier Doug Ford, talking about the cuts associated with the Ford government and really trying to focus that and get that contrast up. Interestingly enough, he did not mention Andrew Scheer once by name at a rally last night in Thunder Bay, but today he did mention Andrew Scheer, Doug Ford's federal counterpart, but he really wants to set up that strategy that the Liberals are using over and over again because they feel it's working and they keep mentioning it every time.
Here in Ontario, you've seen firsthand what happens when the Conservatives give up on the environment. Here in Thunder Bay, the Ford government slashed millions,
hitting the Conservatives on what the Liberals see as their major weak point, a lack of action on the climate file, while mixing in that message on affordability and still beating that climate drum, which they feel so many people, especially young Canadians and young voters, are paying attention to this time around. In the lead up to that big climate march that is set for tomorrow in Montreal. Today, Justin Trudeau also confirmed that he will be there in the crowd. No word yet on whether he will meet teen activist Greta Thunberg. There will also be a couple of other leaders in the crowd, Bloc leader Yves-François, as well as Green Party leader Elizabeth May. Vashi.
Thanks, Salima. Salima Shivji traveling with the Liberal leader this week. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, meanwhile, targeted Trudeau's ethical record today.
At every turn, Trudeau has stopped the truth from coming out and prevented Canadians from getting the answers they deserve.
Scheer says his government would launch an inquiry into the SNC-Lavalin controversy. He made that pledge in Montreal, his only stop today. The CBC's Evan Dyer is traveling with Scheer's team. Evan?
Actually, Andrew Scheer has been in 38 ridings now by my count, and one of the ones who visited today was Papineau, which of course is held by none other than Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And the announcement we heard from Andrew Scheer today, also aimed very much at Justin Trudeau, was a call for a national inquiry into the SNC-Lavalin affair, which he says he will begin if elected. And he also said that he'll pass a new law called the No More Cover-Ups Act, a law that would allow RCMP access to cabinet documents. It would prevent a Prime Minister from claiming cabinet confidence. The Supreme Court would have to sign off, however, on such a warrant. We also had a disruption at that event in Papineau. A protester who had apparently entered with press credentials saying that he was a blogger staged something of a protest over Andrew Scheer's climate policy and was tackled pretty forcefully by Conservative staffers. Let's watch.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Scheer, how do you justify your climate policy? How do you justify climate change? Climate change is killing people around the world. How do you justify more pipelines? Getting rid of pollution taxes? Shame on you! Shame on you!
And the climate issue has been a bit of an albatross around Andrew Scheer's neck, with protesters dogging some of his steps, sometimes more substantial crowds of protesters than we saw with that single heckler today. He's chosen so far not to engage with them, and really not to engage too much with the issue either. And tomorrow, of course, is a day of major climate change protests. We're going to see them in major cities all around Canada, including Vancouver, where Andrew Scheer plans to be. The other three major party leaders of federal parties have all said that they will participate in those protests. We asked Andrew Scheer if he planned to be there in Vancouver, and he said no. Vashi.
Thanks, Evan. The CBC's Evan Dyer traveling with the Conservative leader this week. NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh is in BC for a third day today.
This is going to help families that are struggling with housing today. Families that are in in a situation where they might lose their housing because they can't afford to pay the rent. We're going to provide them with supports. So our plan...
Singh announced his government would offer a $5,000 rental subsidy for up to 500,000 families. He made that promise in Campbell River and later stopped over in Parksville. He finished the day in Nanaimo, where he's speaking to supporters about housing. The CBC's Ashley Burke is reporting on the NDP this week. Ashley?
Vashi, I'm in Courtenay on Vancouver Island, where the NDP has 4 seats to protect and the Greens hold 2. That party's leader, Elizabeth May, said yesterday to CBC News that she wouldn't prop up a minority government that moves forward with the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. Today, I asked the NDP's leader that same question, would he?
I'm opposed to the project, absolutely and fully opposed to it. So whatever government the people of Canada choose, I will be doing my best to continue to fight this project.
So in a minority government, Singh says his position wouldn't change. And if he won, he also wouldn't go ahead with the project. So I asked him what that would mean for taxpayers. Would they be on the line for the multi-billion-dollar loss?
We'd have to assess what it is and exactly what it's worth and understand what we can do with it. I don't have those details because I'm not privy to them.
Singh is campaigning here on the island for the next couple of days where environmental issues are top of mind. He'll be marching in tomorrow's climate strike in Victoria. Vashi?
Thanks, Ashley. Ashley Burke, who is traveling with the NDP this week. Green Party leader Elizabeth May was in Quebec to lay out more of her climate plan.
As the Government of Canada, we will pull the plug on wasting a single additional nickel on the incredibly inane, poorly researched decision to buy a pipeline that couldn't pass muster in the free market and completely violates our climate goals. Then
May says her party would scrap proposed pipeline projects and transition Canada's energy infrastructure into renewables. She made that announcement in Montreal. Well, she'll take part in a massive climate change march tomorrow, as our reporters have been talking about. And as we mentioned, Liberal Leader Justin Trudeau and Bloc Leader Yves-François Blanchet also plan to be at that. Finally, People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier continued his campaign out west. He spent the day in Calgary doing interviews before holding a campaign rally there tonight.
For Albertan, it is important to have a discussion about pipelines and to have the solution for that. It is important also to have a discussion about equalization, the formula that is unfair for Alberta but also unfair for Quebec. We're the only party to speak about that. As you know, in Alberta, they like the fiscal responsibility at the federal level. We're the only party who will balance the budget in 2 years. So I think we have a great platform for Western Canada and for all the country. So my goal is to be here and to speak with Albertans. I think we have a good chance to elect some of our candidates here.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.